Hi everyone, Vanakkam and welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite Little Slaw YouTube channel. So today we are going to deep dive into a problem that every front-end developer, the performance testers, the performance engineers faces when they are testing their applications. So you know that moment when you are using Lighthouse to test your website and everything looks great on paper, but you know what? There is something missing. And in fact, um, I wanted this question to be asked from the subscribers, from the viewers, and that's been asked. So that's the reason I'm coming up with this video. So, well, stick around because by the end of this video, I'm going to reveal a game-changing tool that completely transform how we approach UI testing. But first, let's talk about why Lighthouse, as amazing as it is, sometimes just it's not enough for real world applications. So moving on to slide number 2. So before we move on to the solution, so let's see what is Lighthouse and why are we here. So let's start with the basics. So we all know Lighthouse is an incredible automated tool for improving the web page quality, and it gives us performance audits, accessibility checks, SEO optimizations, and even it validates the best practices. And honestly, you know what? It's fantastic as what it does. I mean, who doesn't love seeing those green scores across the board? And it makes us feel like we have built something truly optimized. And has become the gold standard for web performance testing, and for very good reason. But here is where things get interesting because Lighthouse is perfect for single page analysis. But what happens when we need to test complex user journeys? That's where we start running into some challenges. And let's see that now. So, the reality check, let's face the reality for a moment because modern web applications are not just single static pages anymore. We are building complex interactive experiences with multi step workflows, dynamic content that changes based on user behavior, and intricate user interactions. So think about it for a moment. So we have an e-commerce checkout that span multiple pages, form submissions with real-time validation, and it is authenticated uh, flows with user flows that completely change the user experience. So these are the applications we are actually building in the real world. So here is the $1 million question. How do you test the performance of an entire user journey when your testing tool can only look at one page at a time? And this is where we start to see the limitation of our very beloved Lighthouse. So now let's move to the next slide, which is the Lighthouse's limitations. All right, let's get specific about the limitations because this is where it gets really frustrating as a developer or a performance tester or performance engineer, because the first major limitation is Lighthouse can only test single pages. It cannot navigate through multi-step processes. So if you have a checkout flow or a multi-page form, you're only getting performance data for individual pages, not the complete user experience. And the second limitation is there are no user interaction simulation. So Lighthouse cannot click buttons, they cannot fill out forms, or they cannot simulate any real user behavior, and it is essentially taking a snapshot of a static page, which misses actually so much of what makes modern web apps dynamic and interactive. The third thing is it is purely static analysis. This means Lighthouse completely misses dynamic content and interactive performance issues. So, you know, all those things that happen after the page loads when the users actually start using your application. And finally, it has limited authentication support, and good luck with your testing protected pages or user specific content because Lighthouse struggles with anything behind a login wall or personalized experience. Yes. And again, talking about all these, so these are not just small issues, these are fundamental limitations that affect how we can test real world applications. So now moving on to the fifth slide, the real world testing challenges. So let me give you some concrete example that I'm sure you have encountered. Say for example, you're building an e-commerce site. A typical user journey looks like this. So they browse products, add items to the cart, go through the checkout, and complete their payment. And that's at least 4 to 5 different transactions or different pages with complex interactions between them. But with Lighthouse, you can only test each page individually, and you have no idea how the performance holds up across the entire purchasing journey. And I have let me give you another example as well. Like it's with multi-step form with validation. So you know those forms where each step reveals new content based on previous answers. So Lighthouse sees these the first step and that's it. So it has no way to fill out the form and test how the subsequent steps perform. And they don't even get me started on authenticated user experience. Say for example, you build this amazing dashboard with personalized content, user specific performance optimizations, but Lighthouse cannot log in to see any of it. So you're essentially flying blind when it comes to testing your actual user experience. And this is actually the reality gap between what we are building and what we can actually test. Moving on to the next slide, what we really need. So that's the whole concept of this video, the whole objective of this video. So what do we actually need to solve this problem? So let me break it down first. So we need complex user journey testing, which is the ability to test the entire workflow from start to finish and not just individual pages in isolation. And we need to automate it, right? We need to automate the user interactions. We have to have tools that can click, type, scroll, and navigate exactly like a real user would, because that's how our applications are actually used. And we need performance monitoring across all the steps of user journey, and we want to know if step 3 of our checkout process is slower than step 1, and if it is, then why. And we need dynamic content testing. So when I say dynamic content, which is the ability to test the pages that change and evolve based on user interactions, and because that's what modern applications do. And basically, we need a way to combine the power of Lighthouse's auditing capabilities with the ability to actually navigate and interact with our applications like real users do. So now moving on to the next slide, the solution. Yes, here we have the solution. So in one word, you can very well see here it's the puppeteer, but let's see what is the puppeteer is all about. So now what if I told you that there is a tool that can do all of these? What if there was a way to navigate through entire user journeys, simulate real user interactions, run Lighthouse audits on any page in your flow, and handle authentication and dynamic content? So well, let me introduce you to your new best friend, the puppeteer. That's right. Puppeteer is the missing piece in your testing arsenal. While Lighthouse tells you how good a single page is, Puppeteer can actually navigate your entire application, interact with it like a real user, and then Lighthouse audits at any point in that journey. So this is the game changer that I was talking about at the beginning of this video. So Puppeteer does not replace Lighthouse. It supercharges it by giving the ability to test real user flows with real interactions. And then what's going to come next? Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, this sounds amazing, but how do I actually use Puppeteer, right? And how do I set it up? How do I integrate it with Lighthouse? Well, I've got you covered. In my next video, we're going to do a complete deep dive into Puppeteer. I'm going to take you full step on configuration, building automated user journey tests from scratch, and integrating Lighthouse with Puppeteer for the ultimate testing combo, advanced testing strategies, and real world examples with actual code walkthroughs. So we're going to take everything that we talked about today and turn it into a practical, actionable solutions that you can implement in your projects immediately. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell because you do not want to miss the next video. So we're going to transform how you think about and approach UI testing. And thanks for watching. And I will see you all in the next one where we unlock the full power of Puppeteer. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until I see you all the next video, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and your favorite Little Sra YouTube channel. Take care and bye bye.